I just thought that I would come on and share a little bit more about my upcoming Introduction to MetaConsciousness 3-day workshop, which is going to be held here at Equenergy Wild Wellbeing in southeast Wales, just outside of Abergavenny, so within easy access of the whole of the south of Wales and into England, Hereford, Gloucester, Bristol, anywhere in those areas if you'd like to come along and learn more about this wonderful paradigm, this way of looking at well-being. And basically it's called metaconsciousness, and it is about an overarching understanding of our beliefs and how those impact on our well-being. So when we experience stresses, as we do every day, just going through life, little things happen, and some of those have a small to negligible impact on us, some of them have a bigger impact. And it's how our bodies respond to all of these things, or react really to all of these things. So it's not, it's something that just happens in the moment. I have been on the Activate Your Life course, which talks about the difference between reacting and responding. So I'm trying to be very careful with my language here, using responding as something that we do when we give more thought to how we then respond. It's very difficult when you're trying to put this into words and not to use the same word all the time. But so response is more a thoughtful, thought out action, whereas a reaction is just what happens naturally in our bodies. And it's not to say that it's right or it's wrong, it's good or it's bad, it just what happens, it just is. But when we have something that we find traumatic, and that can be a big T trauma or one of those little T traumas that just, they really hurt, but sometimes we don't explore that hurt. We don't look as to where that hurt comes from or why it hurts. We just try to get on with life. It's a bit of a British thing, stiff upper lip and keep on going, keep calm and keep on going. But those traumas can have a cumulative effect, and they can impact on our thoughts, which create our beliefs, which create the lens through which we see the world, which then influences how we experience things and how our life feels to us. And that then has an impact on our thoughts, and that creates our beliefs, and that creates the filters, and that creates the experience. And so it becomes cyclical, and you can begin to see how it can impact on our well-being because it's creating that filter. So metaconsciousness looks at those beliefs, looks at those filters, looks at where they've come from, how long we've been holding them. And if we're holding beliefs that aren't serving us, over time we can drift further and further and further away from our true nature. And I was talking in another live last week about a video I'd watched with Dr. Gabor Mate, where he talked about discomfort which comes up because we've drifted away from alignment with our true nature. If we didn't have a true nature, there'd be nothing to be in alignment with, and we wouldn't feel the discomfort of moving away from an alignment. So our true nature, who we really are, our soul self, as I often call it, our higher self, you might have heard it called, whatever term you use for that part of your being, for that beingness of you, when we are in alignment with that, it feels amazing. We feel comfortable and at home within our own skin. We feel a sense of joy and aliveness and potential and hope and all of those amazing things, those higher vibration emotions and feelings. But when we start to come out of alignment, it can feel really uncomfortable, and things maybe don't come together in the way that you hope they would. Things just seem to go wrong, one thing after another, and it just seems to escalate and grow. But that's the discomfort of being out of alignment. But within that discomfort, there is such wisdom. Our bodies hold that wisdom for us, and they communicate it in the only way, the only language that they have. Our feelings, be those emotional feelings or physical feelings or thoughts that rush around in our head, that inner voice that can often be so critical. So MetaConsciousness looks at all of these things and helps us to explore them and to investigate them, to understand them, to develop a greater awareness through them, and within that, find the wisdom that our body is offering to us. So discomfort isn't a bad thing. It holds wisdom, it holds information, it's communication. It's when we don't understand that, or it brings up feelings of fear for us because it's unknown and not understood, that's when we can begin to really suffer from that discomfort. But meta-consciousness takes away that fear, and it takes away the feeling of not understanding and not knowing what's going on. It gives us that information, it interprets it for us, so in a way that we can then come to understand. We can get to that root cause of the discomfort that we're feeling, and therefore address it very directly, very specifically, in order to take on board the learning, so that we can let the trauma go, the emotional impact of that trauma, because we don't need it anymore. Because our body, that wise biological system, has taken from it what it needs, and the rest it can let go. I guess kind of like taking a banana out of its skin. You can take the fruit part, the flesh of the banana, and eat that, and you can throw aside the skin. And in the same way, you can take what you need from the discomfort, the learning that it holds for you, the communication and the wisdom, and let the rest of it go. So if you are liking the sound of this, you would like to get to the bottom of maybe some issues that you've got going on, whether those are emotional or physical or cognitive, whatever they might be, introduction to MetaConsciousness can help. And as I said, it's going to be run here at Equenergy over 3 days, from the 27th to the 29th of August, so at the end of this month. And we are based in a beautiful rural location, so there is all the space that you could want to just come and be in nature and have that peaceful surroundings that really allow us to get away from the usual day-to-day and just be in a space for ourselves, to take on board, to explore this learning, to really work our way through it and take on board all of that wonderful supporting wisdom and knowledge that will help you to understand yourself more clearly and to know what it is that you need and how to move forward. So if you've maybe had a diagnosis of something like immune deficiency, or not immune deficiency, sorry, the immune response. So if you've had a diagnosis of your body is attacking itself, which according to the MetaConsciousness perspective, it does not. Our body is only ever trying to feel safe. And we can look at what it's doing to try and achieve that, again, to get that information, to get that wisdom, to get that knowledge, to know how best to support ourselves back to well-being. So if you've had that kind of a diagnosis, if maybe you have fibromyalgia, ME, long COVID, IBS, chronic pain, skin conditions like psoriasis, eczema, dermatitis, these sorts of things are wonderful to explore with MetaConsciousness. I know, because that's been my journey. I had migraines, headaches, IBS, eczema, but I don't have those anymore because MetaConsciousness showed me why my body was communicating to me in those ways, what it was telling me, and how I could support myself to get back to better well-being. So maybe if you've been told that the best you can hope for is to manage your symptoms, but they're actually going to be there to some degree forever, then MetaConsciousness is for you, to help you get to the bottom of what those symptoms are telling you and how you can then support yourself back to greater well-being.